She turned so fast the bowl almost slipped from her hands. Mira, she whispered, but it was not a normal whisper. It was sharp, afraid. What are you doing here? I looked at the burning papers. One corner of a document had not caught fire yet. I saw Dottie's name printed on it.
Leela Shah.
Then I saw my father's name. Then something like a signature. What is that? I asked. Kavita stepped in front of the bowl. Nothing. Go inside. Kavita auntie, I said, because even after all those years, I could never call her mom. Why are you burning Dottie's papers the night before her funeral? Her face changed. For 1 second, the fear disappeared, and something colder took its place. You saw nothing, she said. I should have stepped back. I should have waited. I should have collected proof quietly, like every legal teacher had told me. But grief makes you emotional, and love makes you foolish. Dottie had been more than my grandmother. She had been my mother after my real mother died when I was 6. So I said the worst possible sentence. I'm telling Dad. The fire cracked in the bowl. Kavita stared at me as if I had slapped her. Then suddenly, her eyes filled with tears. Not real tears. Not the kind that come from pain. The kind that come when a person decides to become the victim before you can become the witness. Please, Mira, she said, stepping toward me. Don't do this tonight. Your father is already broken. Then explain what you're burning. I said don't do this. What was Dottie's name doing on those papers? Her tears began falling harder, but her voice stayed controlled. You think you are very smart because you studied law for 6 months? It was an internship. You think you know this family better than me? I know Dottie would never want her documents burned behind the kitchen like trash. Her face went still. Then she said quietly, You always wanted to remove me from this house. I felt cold. What? You never accepted me. You tolerated me because your father forced you to. And now Dottie is gone, so you think this is your chance. That is not what this is. But she had already found the story she wanted. She stepped backward, touched the ashes with her sandal, and let out a sound so loud it woke the servant sleeping near the back door. Raj, she screamed. Raj, come here. Within minutes, the backyard filled with people. My father came first, his hair messy, his kurta wrinkled, his eyes red from crying. Behind him came my half-brother Dev, then my aunties, then 2 cousins, then neighbors who had been staying overnight for the funeral. Kavita fell against my father like her bones had disappeared. She tried to take them, she cried. My father looked at me. What is happening? I opened my mouth, but Kavita spoke first. She was searching Maji's room. I caught her with papers. When I asked her what she was doing, she started shouting that the property should be hers because she was Dottie's favorite. I froze. That's a lie. Kavita's crying became louder. She said Dev is not real family. She said I trapped you. She said now that Maji is dead, she will make sure we get nothing. Dev stepped forward. He was 22, tall, polished, always dressed like a rich boy even when he had no job. He looked at me with disgust that felt too prepared. Wow, Mira, he said. Dottie's body hasn't even been taken for cremation, and you're already fighting for property. I wasn't fighting for anything, I said. She was burning papers. I saw Dottie's name. Kavita gasped like I had stabbed her with the word. Raj, listen to her. She is accusing me on the night before your mother's funeral. My father looked at the bowl. The papers were almost gone now. Only black pieces floated in the ash. What papers? He asked. I don't know. She burned them. Kavita lifted her hand to her chest. I burned old hospital discharge slips. I couldn't look at them anymore. I was grieving. And she turned it into an accusation. A few relatives murmured. Someone said, this is not the time. Someone else said, children become greedy after elders die. I looked at my father, waiting for him to see me.
He had raised me. He knew I was stubborn, yes.
Emotional, yes. But greedy? Cruel? Capable of fighting over inheritance before Dottie's funeral? Dad, I said, my voice breaking.
Please.
Just check Dottie's cupboard. Check if any papers are missing. Kavita grabbed his arm.
See?
She already knows where the papers are. That was the moment I realized I was not in an argument. I was inside a trap, and every word I spoke was being turned into rope. My father's face hardened. Enough, he said. Dad. I said enough. He looked at me the way strangers look at thieves. Go to your room.
No.
You need to listen to me. His voice rose. Your grandmother is lying cold inside this house, and you are creating a scene over property. I am creating a scene because she burned. Stop blaming my wife. My heart cracked quietly. My wife. Not your stepmother. Not Kavita. Not even her. My wife. He had chosen his side before hearing mine. That night, nobody slept. Or maybe I didn't. I sat on the floor of my bedroom, staring at the door, waiting for my father to come and say, Mira, tell me properly what happened. He never came. At sunrise, the funeral preparations began. Women cried in the hallway. Men arranged chairs outside. Someone brought white sheets. Someone brought flowers. I could hear relatives whispering my name in pieces. Mira, will, property, jealous. Dottie spoiled her. I washed my face, wore the plain white suit Dottie had once bought me, and walked toward the main hall. Before I could enter, Kavita stepped in front of me. She was dressed in white too, but her face was calm now. Too calm. Like the crying had been a performance, and the curtain had closed. You are not coming, she said. I thought I misheard her.
What?
You are not coming to Maji's funeral. I stared at her. From inside the hall, I could see Dottie's framed photo with a garland around it. Her body had already been taken, but the rituals were continuing. My cousins were sitting on the floor. My father was near the priest. You can't stop me from attending my grandmother's funeral. Kavita leaned closer. Watch me. I stepped around her, but Dev blocked the way. Don't make another drama, he said. My chest tightened. Move.
No.
Dev, move. He smiled slightly. Not today. I looked past him and called out, Dad. My father turned. For 1 second, I thought he would come to me. I thought the sight of me standing outside my own grandmother's prayer ceremony would break through whatever poison Kavita had poured into his ear. He walked over slowly. Dad, I said, holding back tears. Tell them to move. He did not look at Dev. He did not look at Kavita.
He looked only at me.
You will not enter this room. The hallway became silent. Even the whispers stopped. What are you saying? I asked. You have already insulted your grandmother's memory enough. I loved Dottie more than anyone in this house. His jaw tightened. Then you should have respected her death. Kavita wiped a fake tear. She threatened me again this morning, she said softly. She said if she doesn't get what she deserves, she'll destroy this family. I turned to her in shock. You are lying in front of her photo. Kavita whispered, see? Again. My father's voice dropped so low it scared me. Get out, Mira. I stopped breathing. What? He looked away from me like I was something dirty. Get out, Mira. You're dead to us. Those words did not sound loud. They sounded final, like a door closing underground. For a moment, I could not move. I could hear someone crying inside. I could smell sandalwood. I could see Dottie's photo over my father's shoulder, her smile frozen in that old frame, and I remember thinking, this cannot be real. This cannot be how love ends. I tried one last time.
Dad, please.
I am your daughter. He did not answer. Dev took my arm. I pulled away. Don't touch me. Then my aunt, who used to feed me mango slices when I was little, whispered, leave before people see more. Before people see more. Not before you break completely. Not before we ask what happened. Before people see more. That night, nobody slept. Or maybe I didn't. I sat on the floor of my bedroom, staring at the door, waiting for my father to come and say, Mira, tell me properly what happened. He never came. At sunrise, the funeral preparations began. Women cried in the hallway. Men arranged chairs outside. Someone brought white sheets. Someone brought flowers. I could hear relatives whispering my name in pieces. Mira, will, property, jealous. Dottie spoiled her. I washed my face, wore the plain white suit Dottie had once bought me, and walked toward the main hall. Before I could enter, Kavita stepped in front of me. She was dressed in white too, but her face was calm now. Too calm. Like the crying had been a performance, and the curtain had closed. "You are not coming," she said. I thought I misheard her.
What?
"You are not coming to Maji's funeral." I stared at her. From inside the hall, I could see Dottie's framed photo with a garland around it. Her body had already been taken, but the rituals were continuing. My cousins were sitting on the floor. My father was near the priest. "You can't stop me from attending my grandmother's funeral." Kavita leaned closer. "Watch me." I stepped around her, but Dev blocked the way. "Don't make another drama," he said. My chest tightened. "Move."
No.
"Dev, move." He smiled slightly. "Not today." I looked past him and called out, "Dad." My father turned. For 1 second, I thought he would come to me. I thought the sight of me standing outside my own grandmother's prayer ceremony would break through whatever poison Kavita had poured into his ear. He walked over slowly. "Dad," I said, holding back tears. "Tell them to move." He did not look at Dev. He did not look at Kavita.
He looked only at me.
"You will not enter this room." The hallway became silent. Even the whispers stopped. "What are you saying?" I asked. "You have already insulted your grandmother's memory enough." I loved Dottie more than anyone in this house. His jaw tightened. "Then you should have respected her death." Kavita wiped a fake tear. "She threatened me again this morning," she said softly. "She said if she doesn't get what she deserves, she'll destroy this family." I turned to her in shock. "You are lying in front of her photo." Kavita whispered, "See? Again." My father's voice dropped so low it scared me. "Get out, Mira." I stopped breathing. "What?" He looked away from me like I was something dirty. "Get out, Mira. You're dead to us." Those words did not sound loud. They sounded final, like a door closing underground. For a moment, I could not move. I could hear someone crying inside. I could smell sandalwood. I could see Dottie's photo over my father's shoulder, her smile frozen in that old frame, and I remember thinking, this cannot be real. This cannot be how love ends. I tried one last time.
"Dad, please."
"I am your daughter." He did not answer. Dev took my arm. I pulled away. "Don't touch me." Then my aunt, who used to feed me mango slices when I was little, whispered, "Leave before people see more." Before people see more. Not before you break completely. Not before we ask what happened. Before people see more. I walked back to my room with everyone watching. Nobody followed me. Nobody stopped me. Nobody even looked ashamed. I packed one bag. Not because I wanted to leave. Because when a family calls you dead, the house starts feeling like a grave. I took 3 suits, my documents, my internship certificates, Dottie's old shawl, and the tiny silver ring she had given me on my 18th birthday. I stood in my bedroom one last time and looked at the wall where I had taped my first law school acceptance letter. Dottie had stood there that day and touched the paper like it was gold. "You will protect truth," she had said. And now I was leaving because truth had no witness. As I walked out, I passed the hall. Kavita was sitting beside my father, holding his hand. Dev was receiving condolences like a prince. My grandmother's photo looked down at all of us. I wanted to scream. Instead, I left quietly. That was the first lesson betrayal taught me. The person who screams first is not always the one in pain. Sometimes they scream because they know the truth is about to speak. For months after that, I slept in a paying guest room above a tailoring shop. The ceiling fan shook every night like it was also tired of surviving. I worked at a small legal office where my boss paid me late but let me read case files after hours. I ate cheap rice, took buses, and cried only in bathrooms because I refused to cry in front of strangers. My father never called. Not on the 13th day after Dottie's funeral. Not on my birthday. Not when I passed my law exams. Not when I sent him one message that said, "I didn't lie." He left it unread. But Kavita was not satisfied with throwing me out. She wanted to bury my name too. Relatives stopped inviting me to weddings. Cousins removed me from family groups. One aunt told people I had shown my real face after Dottie's death. Another said I tried to manipulate an old woman into giving me property. Dev told his friends I had mental issues and was obsessed with inheritance. The worst part was not the lies.
It was how quickly people accepted them.
Because Kavita had spent years preparing the ground. I realized it slowly, painfully, through memories that returned like broken glass. When Dottie praised me, Kavita would smile and say, "Of course Maji loves Mira. She has no responsibilities, so she can sit with old people all day." When I helped Dottie with medicine, Kavita would say, "She's doing it because she knows Maji controls the old house." When I studied law, Kavita told relatives, "Now we have to be careful. She knows how to twist words." At the time, I thought those comments were small. They were not small. They were seeds. And by the time she accused me, the whole family garden was ready to grow poison. The only person who tried to reach me was Mrs. Fernandez, Dottie's old private nurse. She was a quiet woman in her late 50s who had cared for Dottie during her final year. She spoke gently, always carried a rosary, and never interfered in family matters. A week after I was thrown out, she called me once. I was too broken to answer. She left a voicemail. "Beta, I hope you're safe. Your Dottie loved you very much.
Please remember that."
I played that message every night for almost a month. Then life moved forward, but not kindly. I became a lawyer after 3 years of humiliating work and stubborn studying. I did not become rich. I did not become powerful overnight. I built myself slowly, case by case, client by client, insult by insult. I learned how people lie on paper. I learned how signatures are forged. I learned how wills are challenged. I learned that the law does not heal your heart, but sometimes it gives your pain a language strong enough to stand in court. And every time I worked on an inheritance dispute, I thought of Dottie. I thought of those burning papers. I thought of my father's voice. "You're dead to us." 5 years passed. Then, one rainy Thursday afternoon, my phone rang from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer. I was in my office, reviewing documents for an elderly widow whose sons had tried to transfer her house without her consent. My coffee was cold. My head was aching. But something made me pick up. "Hello." There was a pause. Then a familiar, older voice said, "Mira Beta?" My chest tightened. "Mrs. Fernandez?" She exhaled shakily. "I've been trying to find you." I sat straighter. "Is everything okay?"
"No," she said. "Not exactly."
"I am sorry I waited this long." I was scared. A strange silence moved into the room. "Scared of what?" "Of your stepmother." The rain tapped against my office window. My hand tightened around the phone. "What happened?" She did not answer immediately. I heard her breathing, uneven and nervous. Then she said, "Your Dottie gave me something before she died." The world narrowed. "What?" "A locked wooden box." I stood up so fast my chair rolled back. "What box?" "She told me not to give it to anyone in the house. She said if anything happened after her death, and if you were pushed out, I should wait until you were strong enough. Then I should find you." My throat closed. Dottie knew. Somehow, before she died, Dottie knew a storm was coming. "Where are you?" I asked. Mrs. Fernandez gave me the address of a small church clinic 2 hours away. She had moved there after leaving our house. She said she could not talk more on the phone. I canceled every meeting that day. On the drive, my hands shook on the steering wheel. Part of me was afraid to hope. Hope is dangerous when life has already taught you that truth can arrive late and still not save what you lost. But another part of me felt something waking up. Not happiness. Not revenge yet. Something older. Something like Dottie's hand on my head, saying, "Mira, truth walks slowly, but it does not die." Mrs. Fernandez looked smaller than I remembered. Her hair had turned fully white. She was waiting in a modest room behind the clinic, sitting beside a steel cupboard. When she saw me, her eyes filled. "You look like your mother," she said. No one had said that to me in years. I sat across from her. She took my hands. "I am sorry," she whispered. "I should have spoken that night." "You knew." I knew something was wrong. Not everything, but enough. She stood with effort, opened the cupboard, and took out a wrapped bundle. Inside was a dark wooden box with brass corners. It was old, polished, and heavy. I recognized it immediately. Dottie used to keep it in the bottom drawer of her wardrobe. As a child, I thought it held jewelry. Whenever I asked, she would tap my nose and say, "One day, when truth needs courage." Mrs. Fernandez placed it on the table. She gave me the key, too. My fingers trembled as I opened it. Inside were documents wrapped in cloth, a pen drive, several photographs, a diary page in Dottie's handwriting, and an envelope with my name, Mira. I could not move. Mrs. Fernandez sat beside me. "Read it," she said softly. I opened the envelope. The letter was short. Dottie's handwriting was weaker than I remembered, but every word felt alive. "My Mira, if this reaches you, it means I was right to be afraid. Do not trust tears that arrive too quickly. Do not fight with anger. Fight with proof. Everything you need is here. I am sorry I could not protect you while alive. So I have tried to protect you after death. Your Dottie, Leela." I pressed the letter to my mouth and broke. Not loudly, not dramatically, just a deep, silent collapse that had been waiting 5 years. Mrs. Fernandez cried with me. When I finally unfolded the documents, the first thing I saw was a will. Not the will my family had presented after Dottie's death. A different one. The real one. It had been properly drafted, witnessed, registered, and sealed. As a lawyer, I knew what I was looking at. This was not some emotional note. This was a legally powerful document. Dottie had left the ancestral house and most of her personal assets in a trust. Not to Dev. Not to my father. Not to Kavita.
To me.
But not as a greedy gift. As responsibility. The trust instructions were clear. I was to preserve the old house, provide a monthly amount for my father's medical and living needs, support Dev's education if he worked honestly, and donate a portion every year to a women's legal aid fund in my mother's name. My hands shook harder. Dottie had not cut them off. She had protected everyone. But she had placed control in my hands because she knew who could not be trusted. Then I found copies of another document. The will that had been used after Dottie's death. The one that transferred nearly everything to my father first, then allowed Kavita to manage it as his spouse. I compared the signatures. Even before expert analysis, I saw it. The curves were wrong. The pressure was wrong. The L in Leela was too stiff. Kavita had forged Dottie's signature. But that was not all. The pen drive contained audio recordings. My heart pounded as Mrs. Fernandez opened her old laptop and played the first file. At first, there was static. Then Dottie's weak voice. "Kavita, why did you bring these papers again?" Then Kavita's voice, smooth and irritated. "Maji, it is just a formality. Raj doesn't understand paperwork. Sign it and rest." "I already made my will." "That old thing? You were not well. People will say Mira influenced you."
No.
"Mira does not even know."
She will use it. You know she will.
"She studies law. She thinks she is above us." Dottie coughed. Then she said something that made my whole body go still. "You are afraid of Mira because she sees you." There was a sharp sound like a chair moving. Kavita's voice became low. "You should think about Dev. He is also your blood now." "Dev is my grandson. But greed is not blood." The recording ended. I sat there frozen. Mrs. Fernandez clicked another file. This time, the voices were Kavita and someone else.
A man.
Not my father. Later, I would learn he was a small-time document writer named Mahesh who prepared fake affidavits for people who didn't want questions asked. Kavita said, "The old woman is getting suspicious. If she tells Mira, everything is finished." Mahesh replied, "Then keep the girl away. She follows Maji like a shadow. Then make the girl the problem." Families always believe the person who cries first. The room spun. Families always believe the person who cries first. I had lived 5 years inside that sentence. The last recording was the worst. It was dated one day before Dottie died. Dottie's voice was barely above a whisper, but clear enough. "Nurse, listen carefully. If they remove Mira after I go, give her the box. Not immediately. She will be alone. Let her become strong. Then give it. Mrs. Fernandez was crying in the recording. Madam, why don't you tell Raj, sir? Dottie was silent for a long moment. Then she said, My son loves comfort more than truth. He will believe the woman who makes his life easier. That line hurt more than everything else, because it was not anger. It was disappointment. Dottie had seen my father clearly, and maybe I had refused to. I left the clinic with the box, the letter, and a new kind of silence inside me. Not the silence of defeat. The silence of someone loading a weapon made of truth. For the next 6 months, I did nothing publicly. That was the hardest part. Every instinct in me wanted to drive to my father's house, throw the will on the table, and scream until the walls understood what they had done. But I remembered Dottie's letter. Do not fight with anger. Fight with proof. So I built the case. Quietly. I had the signatures examined by a forensic handwriting expert. Forgery confirmed. I traced the document writer through old notary stamps. I found Mahesh, now running a photocopy shop near the district court. He denied everything until my senior advocate explained that forgery of testamentary documents could destroy what little life he had left. Then his courage dissolved. He gave a statement. Kavita had paid him. I found the notary whose seal had been used. He was retired, half-blind, and terrified. He admitted he had never witnessed Dottie sign anything. His seal had been borrowed by Mahesh. I checked property records. Kavita had already transferred part of Dottie's jewelry money into Dev's wedding fund. That was when the story took its final shape. Dev was getting married in December. Not quietly.
Not simply.
Kavita was planning the kind of wedding people discuss for months. 5-star hotel. Imported flowers. Designer sherwani. A guest list full of business families, politicians, and relatives who had once whispered that I was a greedy snake. The invitation reached me through a cousin by accident. Or maybe not by accident. It was a digital card with Dev and his fiancée smiling under golden lights. At the bottom, in elegant letters, it said, With blessings of Raj and Kavita Shah. Blessings. That word made something inside me burn. The wedding was being paid for with stolen inheritance. With Dottie's jewelry. With forged papers. With the money and dignity they took after throwing me out of her funeral. And Kavita would stand there as the perfect mother. Dev would stand there as the golden son. My father would smile beside them, proud and blind. And every relative who watched me leave with one bag would clap. I stared at the invitation for a long time. Then I called the family lawyer named in Dottie's real will. Mr. Anand Kapoor. He was old, sharp, and deeply angry when he saw the documents. I knew Leela Ji changed her will, he said. But after her death, your father's side told me she had revoked it. They never let me near the final papers. She didn't revoke it, I said. No, he replied, looking at the forged signature. She was robbed. We filed quietly. Civil challenge. Criminal complaint prepared. Injunction applications drafted. Trust activation petition ready. But I told Mr. Kapoor one thing. I don't want them warned too early. He looked at me over his glasses. You want timing. I want truth to arrive when lies are wearing their best clothes. For the first time, he smiled. Your grandmother chose correctly. The wedding night came cold and bright. I stood outside the hotel, wearing a plain deep blue sari. Not bridal. Not flashy. Just dignified. Dottie's silver ring was on my finger. Her letter was in my purse. Mr. Kapoor stood beside me with 2 junior lawyers. Behind us was a court clerk carrying sealed notices. Mrs. Fernandez had come too. She was nervous, but she insisted. Your Dottie asked me to speak when the time comes, she said. The hotel ballroom looked like a palace built to impress people who mistake money for respect. Crystal chandeliers. White orchids. Gold stage. Live musicians. A giant screen showing Dev and his bride's pre-wedding shoot. And there, near the stage, stood Kavita. She was wearing emerald silk and diamonds I recognized. Dottie's diamonds. My vision blurred for a moment. Those earrings had sat in Dottie's velvet box for years. She wore them only on Diwali. She once let me try them on and laughed because they were too heavy for my ears. Now Kavita was wearing them like a crown. Dev saw me first. His smile disappeared. He walked toward me quickly, anger already rising. What are you doing here? I looked at him. Attending a family event. You are not family. That old sentence no longer cut as deep. Maybe because I had brought the truth with me this time. Kavita noticed the tension and turned. When she saw me, her face went pale for half a second. Then, like always, she performed. She rushed forward with wounded eyes. Mira, she said loudly enough for nearby relatives to hear. Why have you come here after so many years? Not tonight. Please, not tonight. People turned. The whispers started immediately. Mira? She came? After everything? My father looked older than I remembered.
Thinner. Slower.
He was standing near the bride's family, holding a glass of water. When he saw me, his face tightened. Not with love. With fear of embarrassment. That hurt more than I expected. He walked toward me. Leave, he said quietly. No greeting. No question. No trembling apology. Just leave. I looked at him and saw the man who had once carried me on his shoulders during monsoon floods and the man who had abandoned me outside Dottie's funeral. Both were real. That was the cruelest part. Dad, I said, tonight you will finally hear what you refused to hear 5 years ago. His eyes flicked toward the guests. Do not create drama. Kavita grabbed his arm. Raj, please. She has come to ruin Dev's wedding. I told you she would never let us be happy. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny. Because she still believed the old script would work. Cry first. Accuse first. Become victim first. Dev stepped closer. Security, he called. 2 hotel guards moved toward us. Mr. Kapoor calmly took out a sealed envelope. I would advise against that, he said. Dev frowned. Who are you? Anand Kapoor. Advocate. I represented the late Leela Shah in her estate planning. The color drained from Kavita's face. Only a little. But I saw it. So did Mr. Kapoor. My father looked confused. Estate planning? Kavita spoke quickly. Raj, he is lying. Mira probably hired him. Mr. Kapoor looked at her. Madam, I am difficult to hire for lies. Your mother-in-law knew that. The bride's father came over, concerned. What is happening? Dev turned to him. Nothing, uncle. Just an estranged relative trying to create trouble. I looked at his fiancée, Anika. She stood near the stage, beautiful and nervous, watching the family she was about to marry and to begin to crack. For a second, I felt sorry for her. Then I remembered how many women are handed into families like gifts without being told what rot is under the floor. She deserves to know too, I said. Kavita's voice sharpened. Know what? That you are greedy? That you have been waiting 5 years to attack us? No, I said. That this wedding is being paid for with stolen inheritance. The ballroom went quiet. Not fully, but enough. My father whispered. Mira? I turned to him. You threw me out of Dottie's funeral because you believed I wanted her will. Kavita shook her head, tears already forming.
She did.
She still does. I opened my purse and took out a copy of Dottie's letter.
No.
Dottie wanted me to protect it. Kavita laughed, but it came out thin. A letter? Anyone can write a letter. Mr. Kapoor nodded to the technician near the stage. One of my junior lawyers had already spoken to the hotel manager with legal authority and a court notice. The giant screen flickered. Dev panicked. Stop this. But the first image appeared. Dottie's registered will. The real one. A murmur rolled through the hall. Mr. Kapoor spoke clearly. This is the valid registered will of the late Mrs. Leela Shah, executed months before her death in my presence and witnessed lawfully. It creates a trust, appointing Mira Shah as trustee, with provisions for Raj Shah, Dev Shah, and charitable obligations. My father stared at the screen. Kavita whispered, Fake. Mr. Kapoor clicked again. The next slide showed the forged will. Then the handwriting expert's report. Then the notary statement. Then Mahesh's affidavit. Each document landed like a stone. One by one, The perfect wedding stage became a courtroom. Guests stood from their seats. Dev shouted, "This is illegal. You can't show this here." Mr. Kapoor said, "The court has already been approached. These are notices. Formal service is being completed tonight because several concerned parties are present, including beneficiaries and recipients of disputed funds." The bride's father turned slowly toward Dev. "Disputed funds?" Anika looked at Dev. "What does that mean?" Dev opened his mouth, but no answer came. Kavita tried one final move. She slapped her own chest and cried, "This girl destroyed my family once. Now she has come to destroy my son's life. Raj, say something." Everyone looked at my father. For 5 years, his silence had protected her. Now his silence exposed him. He stared at the screen like a man watching his own weakness become public record. Then the audio began. Dottie's voice filled the ballroom.
Weak. Old.
But unmistakable. "Kavita, why did you bring these papers again?" Kavita froze. The guests froze with her. The recording continued. "It is just a formality. Raj doesn't understand paperwork. Sign it and rest." Then Dottie's voice. "I already made my will." Kavita's voice. "That old thing?
You were not well.
People will say Mira influenced you." People turned toward Kavita. This time, her tears stopped. Because tears cannot fight a recording. Then came the line that made the entire hall go silent. "You are afraid of Mira because she sees you." I looked at Kavita. For 5 years, she had lived as if she had erased me. But Dottie's voice had brought me back into the room stronger than any scream could have. The second recording played. Mahesh's voice. "Then make the girl the problem. Families always believe the person who cries first." A gasp moved through the guests. One of my aunties covered her mouth. The same auntie who told me to leave before people saw more. Now people were seeing everything. Kavita stepped backward. Dev grabbed her arm. "Mom," he whispered. "What did you do?" That was the first time I saw fear in him.
Not shame. Fear.
Because his luxury wedding, his rich image, his perfect family, his stolen comfort, all of it was cracking in front of the people he wanted to impress. My father turned to Kavita. His lips moved, but no sound came. Kavita looked at him desperately. "Raj, listen to me." I almost smiled at the irony. Listen to me. The words I had begged for 5 years ago. Now she wanted them too.
But truth is cruel like that.
It returns people to the exact place where they abandoned you. Mrs. Fernandez stepped forward then. Small, trembling, but steady.
"I was there," she said.
The microphone caught her voice. "I cared for Leela, madam. She was afraid Mrs. Kavita would destroy her documents. Madam gave me the box before she died. She told me Mira would be blamed." Kavita screamed, "Liar." Mrs. Fernandez did not flinch. She said Raj sir would choose comfort over truth. The words hit my father like a slap. His face collapsed. For the first time that night, he looked at me not as a problem, not as embarrassment, not as a dead daughter. As the child he had failed. "Mira," he whispered. But I did not move toward him. Not yet. Mr. Kapoor handed the sealed notices to Dev, Kavita, and my father. The court will determine final penalties and restoration. But until then, disputed assets are frozen. Jewelry listed under Leela Shah's estate must be surrendered. Funds traced into this wedding account will be examined. Any further transfer will be treated as obstruction. The bride's father stepped back from Dev. Anika removed her engagement ring slowly. Dev looked at her, stunned. "Anika, wait. This has nothing to do with us." She looked at the screen, then at Kavita, then at him. "You knew?" Dev said nothing. That silence answered for him. She placed the ring on a table. "My family is leaving." The wedding did not end with shouting. That would have been easier. It ended with something worse. Guests quietly picking up their phones. Relatives avoiding Kavita's eyes. The bride's family walking out. Musicians stopping mid-song. The giant screen still showing Dottie's signature above the forged one. Kavita stood in the center of the ballroom, dressed in stolen diamonds, surrounded by flowers paid for with stolen money, watching her son's wedding dissolve into public disgrace. and I felt nothing like joy. That surprised me. I had imagined revenge would feel hot. It felt cold.
Clean.
Like removing a knife after years and finally seeing the wound. My father walked toward me slowly. His eyes were wet. Mira, he said again. I didn't know. I looked at him for a long time. 5 years of hunger, shame, loneliness, unanswered messages, missed birthdays, and Dottie's funeral stood between us.
You didn't want to know, I said.
He flinched. I was grieving. So was I. He lowered his head. Kavita said. I know what Kavita said. My voice broke, but I did not let it fall apart. She said I was greedy. She said I was jealous. She said I was destroying the family. And you believed her, because believing me would have required courage. He cried then, not loudly, not dramatically, just like a man who had finally reached the truth and found no excuse waiting there. I am sorry, he whispered. For years, I had imagined those words. I thought they would heal something. They did not. They only proved the wound had been real. I looked toward Dottie's letter in my purse. Then I said, I will make sure you are taken care of because Dottie wanted that. Not because you earned it. He covered his face. Kavita suddenly rushed forward. Mira, please, she said, her voice shaking for real now. Think about Dev. Think about the family name. I turned to her. The woman who banned me from Dottie's funeral. The woman who turned my father against me. The woman who wore my grandmother's jewelry while calling me a thief. Now she wanted mercy, in the name of family. Family name? I said quietly. You buried mine. She clasped her hands. I made a mistake. No, I said. A mistake is signing the wrong page. You forged a dead woman's will. You stole from her trust. You framed her granddaughter. You let me leave that house like garbage. And then you built your son's wedding on top of my silence. Her mouth trembled. I was scared. Good, I said. Now you know how I felt. That was the last thing I said to her that night. The legal process took nearly 2 years. It was not cinematic every day. Real justice is slow. There were hearings, delays, excuses, adjournments, arguments, and attempts at settlement. Kavita tried to claim emotional stress. Dev tried to say he was unaware. Mahesh tried to reduce his role. The notary cried about old age. But documents do not get tired. Recordings do not forget. And Dottie's Betrayal stood like a wall. The court recognized the trust. The forged will was declared invalid. The disputed funds were traced. Kavita lost control of the property and faced criminal proceedings for forgery and fraud. Dev's marriage never happened. His fiancée's family publicly withdrew, and the business families Kavita had tried so hard to impress stopped returning calls. The jewelry was recovered, including Dottie's emerald earrings. I did not wear them. I placed them in a bank locker under the trust inventory, exactly as Dottie would have wanted. My father moved into a smaller part of the ancestral house under trust care. I provided for him as instructed, but I did not move back.
People expected me to.
They said, he is your father. They said, at least now he knows. They said, don't keep anger. But they did not stand outside that funeral hall. They did not hear him say I was dead. Forgiveness is not a button you press because the truth finally becomes convenient for everyone else. Sometimes the best forgiveness is not revenge. It is distance without hatred. I restored Dottie's room first. Not the grand hall. Not the front garden. Her room. The cupboard Kavita had emptied was repaired. Her books were cleaned. Her prayer beads were placed near the window. I framed her letter, but not for guests.
For me.
On the first anniversary after the court decision, I started the legal aid fund in my mother's name, as Dottie requested. We helped widows, daughters, and elderly parents whose own families tried to cheat them with sweet voices and forged signatures. The first woman we helped was a grandmother whose sons tried to sell her home. When she cried in my office and said, "No one believes old women," I thought of Dottie. And I said, "I do." Months later, my father came to my office. He looked smaller than before. Not physically, spiritually. He stood near the door, holding a bag of sweets. You passed another case, he said awkwardly. I saw in the paper. I nodded.
He placed the sweets on my desk.
I don't expect you to call me Dad again like before, he said. The honesty surprised me. I don't know what I expect either, I replied. He looked at the framed photo of Dottie on my shelf. She was right about me. I said nothing. He continued, voice shaking. I chose peace in the house over truth. I thought that made me practical. It made me weak. For the first time, he did not blame grief. He did not blame Kavita. He did not ask me to forget. He only stood there with the truth in his hands, finally too late to use it as a shield. I should have opened the door for you that day, he said. I looked down at my desk. For a moment, I was 24 again, wearing a white suit, standing outside Dottie's funeral, begging to be believed. Then I was 30 again, sitting in the office I built alone. I waited for you, I said. His eyes filled. I know. No, I said. You don't. You know I left. You know years passed. But you don't know what it feels like to lose your grandmother and your father in the same hour. He covered his mouth. I let the silence sit between us. Then I said, I will not punish you, but I will not pretend nothing happened. He nodded. That is more than I deserve. Maybe that was the beginning of something. Not repair. Not yet. But maybe honesty. As for Kavita, the last time I saw her was outside court. She was wearing a plain cotton suit, no diamonds, no proud smile, no crowd around her. Dev stood a few feet away, not holding her hand. She looked at me as if she wanted to say something. Maybe sorry. Maybe help me. Maybe you ruined my life. I did not stop to find out. Because some people do not deserve the final scene they want from you. They want tears so they can feel forgiven. They want anger so they can feel important. They want conversation so they can rewrite history one last time. I gave